This DJ will kick the floor in 3, 2, 1.
On the troll.
Hello and welcome to Mzansi. We are sorry we are late. Things happened that we don't plan. They just happen along the way. So guys, listen. Today, it was definitely another day in court. Another day of SAPS. Another day of a bit of an experience. Junior going to senior and all that. But we had to listen and we had to bring it to you as fresh as it is.
Yes.
So we couldn't skip it as much as we would have liked to skip it, but we couldn't. So let us hear what happened in this court and also what now is happening in a court of public opinion. Obviously, guys, we are giving this everything that we have.
Yep.
What are you doing? And that is from your side. The question is, are you pressing that like button? Are you doing the right things? Because come hell or high water, we bring you this. We bring you all the facts that happen in court.
And
so
we will never stop.
We will never stop. That depends on you, though. The energy that you give back also is important to us because that motivates us.
True.
Thinking that I had to start doing my work first that I get paid for, and then come here and do what I'm doing now. And it's something obviously that I do because I love, not just because there's something into it. So, guys, that being said, need I say more that you need to press the like button? Need I say more that you need to subscribe if you're not subscribed? Need I say more that we do need other resources and we could use other resources? So those who would like to join, please join. And you are not forced. You know, we get calls. Like I got a call today, and I have to mention this, Emil. I got a call from some guy. I'm not gonna say the name.
Okay.
You know what that guy said?
No.
It was around 4 to 5. I just came back from the office.
Yes.
And the guy called. The guy said, "Hi, is this Mr. Anonymous?" I was like, "Yes." And he said, "Can you please tell Emily to stop drinking what he's drinking?" And he dropped the phone.
Wow. Some people lie.
And I don't normally blast. I don't normally
spirit. It's weird.
No, I don't normally blast people. And you check the person that said this. I checked the name. It's not a member.
I'm not even a member.
I've never seen this person's name in this list. Maybe there is commenting with a different
fake account.
But to call and say that someone must not drink water.
I'm drinking water, guys, in here. I'm drinking water, and it's weird because other people drink other things. You will never
hear people say anything.
Telling them to stop.
This is
drinking.
Pure water, and I can attest to that.
So what must I do now? Be dehydrated and faint in front of?
Considering that you speak a lot in terms of giving the whatever that was happening in court, you need to drink water. Sometimes we cough here.
I need to breathe.
You know, at some point this water has helped me also when I couldn't get words out of my mouth.
Yes, it happens that something is here and then you choke, right? It happens to me.
We are not here for that, guys. I just had to tell you.
Guys, if this is not working out for you, then I would recommend that you find alternatives because I cannot change who I am.
It's like it's a level of ANCA or SABC.
I cannot change my personality. I cannot change some of the things about myself. Even my high-pitched voice. At some point, get used to it because I love what I'm doing, okay? And I'm not going to stop because you want me to stop drinking water. It's not going to happen.
As I'm drinking coffee and I'm about to sleep, I need to still sleep and I'm drinking coffee. Let us go.
Okay, so evidence on the Senzo Meyiwa murder crime scene was expected to be heard when the Senzo Meyiwa trial resumed this morning. A new witness number 34 on the list, was called. Sergeant Mlungisi Patrick Mtetwa was the new witness today, and he was one of the officers who attended the scene. He's based at the Vosloorus police station under the unit of crime prevention. And on the 26th of October 2014, he was working at the CSC. I'm going to assume it's the Client Service Center for the SAPS, right? And attending to outside complaints.
I remember CSC from University of Pretoria.
Oh, yes.
It was called CSC.
CSC, Client Service Center.
Yeah.
He went on duty from 6 o'clock p.m. and Mtetwa said that they received a call about an incident in Mzama section in Vosloorus at 20:53 on the 26th of October while he was on duty with his colleague Matebula and two student constables.
Yes.
They were using a marked police vehicle in uniform. Just before they parked there was a woman who pointed them towards the park. Isn't that weird?
Who is that woman, Major?
I found
Because
this very strange.
we need that woman. That woman is of importance.
You stop the police from going to where the incident took place and
Yes,
you're telling them to go to the park.
Who is that woman?
We need that woman. We need her to come and testify
Unfortunately,
what is happening.
things get lost, like they get crushed, those notes and whatsoever that they use, those notebooks,
The pocketbooks.
pocketbook. Is it 205, something like that? Is it 2 something,
something
206?
like that.
206, yeah. So they get crushed after 3 years or so. But for some weird reasons, when they went to check on 2022, when they went to check the
They
older,
found the ones for 2016.
they find the ones for 2016, which is very interesting.
Sure.
So
I
everything
found
that
this
could have
strange.
went wrong about this case, indeed it went wrong. Do you understand?
So this lady said to them that they ran away towards the park. Who's they?
And who's that lady? I don't care about those ones who ran to the park. And I'm still going to come to the park, by the way. The park was an issue today. And I want people to actually give their input as to what they thought of that.
They then drove towards the park, looked around, and went back to the scene. This is Sergeant Mtetwa and everyone he was with in the police vehicle. They didn't see anything at the park. So Mtetwa said that the park is not that far, and when you exit the Kumalo towards the left, so Mr. Anonymous, it seems like you were correct about that. It's towards the left. So they pass by Ngachis to go to that park.
We even do our homework, ne?
So they then rushed to the Mzamo, and upon arrival, they found a gentleman who introduced himself as Temba Kumalo, an uncle there. Then they inquired what happened. He said he also had no knowledge of what had happened.
Yes.
So Mshololo raised an objection to say that it was hearsay, and the judge asked what's wrong with it. And Baloi said, my learned friend is jumping the gun. We're still going to lay the basis. We're just putting it on record that we'll be calling Mr. Temba Kumalo. And may the hearsay be provisionally allowed. So Mr. Temba Kumalo is coming to testify. I'm so happy about that. So Mshololo then said, if a party intends to lead hearsay evidence, and if the bases are laid before then, there'll be no unnecessary objections on our side, my lord. Had we been told that Mr. Kumalo will be called and the state is applying to provisionally lead the evidence, then we have no problem. And I was like, thank you, Mshololo.
Yeah.
Objections always help to kind of get an extra information. That
More
the
so
state
if you're
has
playing
not
with someone
given.
who's hiding their hands, what they are holding in their hands.
Right. And to those who were saying that the defense was briefed and they are briefed about everything, the state, it does not look like they briefed them regarding this witness.
And it is since Tifo. If you remember very well, Tifo was lambasting Baloi most of the time about the things that they were supposed to be in his hands, and they were not there.
Yes.
And this type of behavior is still being seen around these other ones now that we see this defense, this whole new defense that is here.
So, it does not look like that's the case, like how you guys said it. I remember people were
so
saying that
I'm surprised
the
to hear.
defense, they have everything. They are given every information by the state. Are they really now?
I'm surprised to hear about 1928, which seeks to clarify such things and say that a case is not a chess game. But then how do you then ignore these type of things where a defense would say, my lord, I was not furnished, unfortunately, with this exhibit or something like that. And why wouldn't you reprimand the NPA?
Exactly. And even with this, the fact that they were planning to call Mr. Khumalo as a witness and they did not let the defense know that was the case. Something should have been said by the judge here. Remember 1928, that case from the olden eras. You should have brought it up now.
It does not. That's what I'm saying. It only applies when he's defending the witnesses and also in a form of objecting. As much as I would not like to say that's what the judge does, but in a form of objecting, because I feel like now I can rightly so say that there's a lot of objection from the judge.
Baloy then said, that is what we have just done. Then my learned friend just jumped the gun. Listen to the shade. The shade is shady. There was also one lady who said that they went towards the park. They rushed and looked at the park and they couldn't see anything. So this Themba Khumalo didn't have the information of what had happened. He was called by his sister, Ma Khumalo, to come and guard the house for her. She is rushing to the hospital. That's what Themba Khumalo was told. And then he said, we then entered the house because he told us that someone had been injured and had been rushed to the hospital. He opened for us. We entered the house. He opened the kitchen door. So upon opening the door, there was a hat and crutches that were just there. Just on the floor, close to the sink or stove.
Yes.
So we have to ask now. I'm asking a question. I'm posing it to you guys. So did Makhumalo leave that hat and those crutches on the kitchen floor before leaving for the hospital? That's a question I have. It's not to assume or speculate on anything.
You definitely are within your rights to speculate in this case. That thing was left unanswered in a sense. For me, it was where you see a judge leaping to defend the situation from actually reaching that direction. So, and even going as further as to clarify, and not even clarify, to me, it looked like testify on behalf of certain people in disguise of, I understand, I heard what was said. You know, that is you see, maybe I'm crazy.
Okay.
But every time I'm watching
your case,
I see now everything play. It's like, I don't know whether I'm sitting here alone and I'm thinking, oh, this judge is actually, you know why I say that, Amen?
Why?
There is a time where you are going to maybe reach on your script where they are talking about how, I don't know whether it was Mzwide who was asking a question, and then the judge said, maybe put it like this. And then the man just does exactly that. He puts the question like that.
Coming to that.
And then that part, it was used
against
when he was being whipped by the judge.
It was.
And you tell me that those are coincidence and whatnot.
It's not a coincidence.
Put it to them, and then after that, it comes back and whip you with it.
Just because you conformed.
So the best thing to do is not to put it. That's what I even noted. When a judge says 1, 2, 3, don't put it.
You want to do that?
Don't even go to that direction. In fact, withdraw if you have to withdraw, because when he says that, he's gonna come back to use that in a form of defense for whoever is testifying, or he's giving you those things so that you put it to those people, and then after that they block everything that you wanted to ask.
It ruins your whole cross-examination.
It ruins your whole cross-examination. When you were preparing the cross-examination, the judge was not there. So when a judge, Nisi is actually playing this thing very well. He asked the question that he needs to ask, regardless of the advice that comes from the judge. Our learned friend, our smart friend, I mean, there's that portraying of how smart. For me, this judge is kind of portraying how smart I am, you know. It's all about that physics and all is a show off for me, and then that is what I'm thinking.
He just wants to show us how smart he and
I mean, that physics issue, it could have been discussed later if you wanted really to help and expand. And in fact, to expand to someone who probably doesn't even care about physics, for that matter.
Wait for the ballistic expert. Okay. I don't understand why you need to be discussing atoms with somebody who just needed a report coming from the labs. So there was nothing much there, and there were 2 cans of liquor. There was also blood, but it was just drops. Not that it was a lot of blood. Maybe blood stains on the floor in the dining room. So Baloy asked precisely where, and Mteto said the blood, he didn't see it the first time. He saw it when they came back from the hospital. Okay, so because the uncle didn't know much about what had happened, he said the person who knew what was happening was his sister, Makumalo. And then he said they requested that he should lock the house as they rushed to the hospital. He locked and then they rushed to the hospital. As they got to the hospital, they came across a BMW X6 or X5, he wasn't sure. It stopped.
Just
there was
a question
lady.
before you continue.
All right.
This man is testifying, saying that there was nothing that was pointing this man into maybe there could have been crime in that yard or in the house. Why did he feel the need to safeguard the house? In fact, to even leave that information of saying lock the house.
Right?
Why did you say that?
Wow, I didn't even think about it that way. But
in
why
fact,
would you say lock the house?
In fact, towards the end, towards the end, the judge points at, hey, people went to the side. Someone pointed you to that side. So when you went to whatever side you were going, what did you think you were doing? Did you think you were just driving around?
Now, there was a lady who was driving, and there was also a male person in the car. It was a guy. Who is this guy? Didn't Tumelo say he left in a different vehicle, while Mtogo said that he left with Bokeli? And she asked if they were responding to a call about what had happened in Mzamo. Now, Mteto says that they told her that they were responding to a call, but hadn't found much information. Mteto says that he didn't know who she was. She introduced herself as the mother of Senzo's child. They then proceeded to inside the hospital, and that is when they were taken to the deceased, or where the deceased was. And then he said, we noticed the person had been shot on the chest. And Balwe asked, did you recognize the person? And Mteto said, yes. Isn't it interesting and strange how she continued to drive to where she was going, even though if what Mtetwa is saying is as what he said at that day, that he didn't have much information? Wouldn't you want to give the police information if you were there? It's amazing how she just drove, if that's what really happened, in my opinion.
Yes.
So Baloy says, did you recognize the person? And Mtetwa said, yes, it was someone he had seen on TV before. And that person was Senzo Meyiwa. They spoke to Makumalo, who were told that that was one of the persons who was going to provide them with the information that they needed. Mteto said that they then called other officers to come to stand guard at the hospital as they returned back to the crime scene, because it was packed at the hospital. He says they left the 2 student constables at the hospitals, and they left with Makumalo. They cordoned off the place, where the incident happened. And Mteto said they entered the house and noticed that there was a bullet projectile on the floor.
Now, mind you, this is a policeman, regardless of the years that he has worked. And by the way, thank you, Isaiah, for your super chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, this is a police
Yes.
who entered the house initially. In the very same door, which is a question that I think was it Ngumalo tiptoed around this question. The first question would have been, you used the door that seemed to have been shown in this exhibit with a clear break. Did you see it when you entered? Because you used the very same door.
Yes.
Whether
Twice.
closed or open, did you notice when they opened the door for you, did you notice that this door could have been shot at or something like that?
And remember, he's returning for the second time. So it's not clear whether in the first time he noticed all of these things.
And I have a problem, and I will tell you why.
Why?
There's something very common about this case. The witnesses coming to give additional statements.
Yeah.
It's an order of the day.
Even now, I'm sitting on the edge. I'm wondering about Sylvia Hepingubeni's statement. I'm on the edge.
Probably there is a hidden one, because you hear that one. It sounds a bit clear.
Yes.
The one that was read by Mshololo, right?
Yes, yes. So I'm scared.
It wouldn't be
I'm kind
surprising.
of wondering what's going to happen to debunk.
Hey, it wouldn't be surprising if there is an additional statements that are going to come, that I did not say 1, 2, 3. I did not say 1, 2, 3. Whoever was writing just wrote whatever that they wanted to write. Yes, it is my signature, but I did not say it like
It
that.
is so clear. It's so clear. There's no confusion in that statement. The lady was narrating what she saw.
Exactly.
You could even hear where she was saying she's not sure about the kind of liquor that was there. But she saw the liquor. She saw the cans. And she saw Maggie Piri picking them up. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's so clear, it's so precise, but anything can happen
Yeah,
when
to
she comes
debunk
to
that.
testify. When she comes to testify, anything can happen, and they'll be like, she made a statement in 2018, allegedly, or something.
So it seems as if these people, they don't forget. In fact, they tend to remember more as the years
Go by.
go by. So they come to clarify that part.
So now he says that they entered the house and noticed that there was a bullet projectile on the floor and spots of blood were found in the kitchen. Balwe asked the other items you had seen earlier, were they there? And Mteto said that they were still there and where he had left them. So how come he didn't the first time? The first time in particular, the blood, the projectile on the door. The first time in particular, I'm very interested in that aspect. Then Mteto said, we then proceeded to the dining room and the 2 beer cans were still there. So he's saying that first time he saw 2 beer cans. Then
Yeah.
when he came back, he saw the 2 beer cans
You
again.
are right in looking for that clarity. Because that therefore would then mean that the process of cleaning perhaps could have started even way before they came. And obviously it leaves the door open, and I think the judge would stand and oppose you on that.
Yes.
So another question that I would have liked to clarify is that as you were busy with that house, checking for evidence and doing everything that you did, marking, were you at some point shown what is it called? The ballistic, something like that?
Yes.
Were you shown by someone a bullet? Because that's what we were told by Ntabseng. And we must not forget that.
Ntabseng. Ditaba. Ditaba. Ntabseng. okay. Then Teta said we proceeded to the dining room and the 2 beer cans were still there. That's when we also noticed the drops of blood next to the couch. Teta says he called the Foslo police station for detectives, a photographer, and a duty officer. Mteto said we called Client Service Center, we got Warrant Officer Mapafu and requested a photographer. He then contacted them and Captain Zwani arrived. And Baloyi asked in what capacity. Well, Captain Zwani, he's a detective, but he arrived as a standby officer. Captain Zwani arrived and then we showed him what we had seen so far. The crutches, the head, the projectile, the spots of blood, and the damaged kitchen door. He says Constable Msia, the photographer, arrived and was shown the same observations. While Captain Zwani was still talking to Constable Musia, a squad of policemen arrived, most who were not in uniform. They introduced themselves as a task team and told Mtetwa, Matebula, and Zwani that they were relieved of their duties. Musia remained behind, and Mtetwa says that a task team which included Brigadier Ndlovu arrived and they were told that they could be excused. So Brigadier Ndlovu was part of this task team that arrived. And of course, he passed on earlier, was it last year?
Yes, you're correct.
So Baloyi then said, who could be excused? And Teto said, myself, Matebula, and Captain Zwani. I wouldn't say that Musia was, because when we went outside, he remained inside. And then we decided to go back to the police station to complete the docket there. So he says they proceeded to put the police station to finish off the paperwork, including their statements for the docket. And then the state concluded with their evidence in chief. The first one to cross-examine was Sipho Ramosipili for accused 1 and 2. And Ramosipili started off by asking, would you agree with me that over the passage of time, memory fades away? I say this because you seem unsure about some aspects of what happened. And Mtetwa said, correct. Maybe the police handbook could help. Did you have it on the night of the murder? And Mtetwa said, yes. Ramosipili said, do you know what happened to that pocketbook? And Mtetwa said, once it's full, we take it back to logistics and they issue a new one. We tried to go back to logistics to try and get the pocketbooks, but they had already been destroyed because they only keep them on hand for 3 to 4 years. Teto says he had his pocketbook on the day to record everything that happened. However, after the pocketbook was handed back, after it was full, they failed to access those pocketbooks. Teto said they were also told after a period of about 3 years that they destroyed such. So he only could be able to access pocketbooks from 2016.
What would be more interesting? I think the right way of doing this thing. I heard that Mtweta would go and ask and inquire as to why this was not done on this. Can we be finished with a statement that would say that this is the case indeed from these people, rather than hearing it from Mtweta, who can come back and say, I did not get a chance of going there? Can we request that we get such statement to make things formal and put them on record?
Yes, that would be nice. It would help a lot.
I mean, these people are working together. We're talking
Word
about
of
the
mouth.
state. This is a state.
It's the state.
Yes.
They need to be more, not create room for reasonable doubt.
Work together also.
So Ramosipile then asked, did Themba Khumalo tell you who the victim was? Mtetwa said no. What was the real reason for going inside the house even after Themba Khumalo had told you that the victim was already in hospital and the people who knew were also there at the hospital? Mtetwa said there were no clues outside. They needed to see inside. And Ramosipile asked, did you take any steps to secure the scene?
It is worrisome that this man would claim that he even witnessed the dots of the blood and still consider that place irrelevant, regardless of the circumstances that he was facing. And to top it all, he prides himself with. You might as well call him the man who protects evidence. And he sees something that seems to be aligning to the story that there was indeed shooting. And I mean, what more do you want than a blood?
Exactly.
And perhaps the question that would have just be a question in terms of your experience and expertise in terms of these 15 years that you have worked. Would it be possible that someone was shot and had to lie down on a floor like that, still have bloods, not proper blood bleeding or something like that? Just a question. If you could comment on that, as a person who has worked with such incident, probably you would know. You have faced this incident.
Yes,
so
incident where there
was it something usual to see a blood coming out like in dots?
After a gunshot specifically. Would like to know that in any other scene, have you seen anything like what you've seen?
Obviously, if the judge does not, if the judge permits. Thank you, dollars, more dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And then there were no clues outside. We needed to see inside. So did you take any steps to secure the scene? And Mteto said, we started by ascertaining the details of the incident from those that knew what happened. Ramasipili asked, when you saw the hat, the crutches, and cans of beer in the house, was that not an indication enough for you to secure the scene? And Mteto said, no, that was not enough. Ramasipili asked, the primary objective of the first responder is to secure and whether there's an injured person, ensure they get medical assistance. And Mteto said yes. And when the victim had been taken to hospital, the second priority is to secure the place. And Mteto said yes. Ramasipili then said, did you on that night, upon realizing the victim had been taken to the hospital, did you secure the scene? And Mteto said, what we did was to first get hold of the person who could tell us what had happened. This is...
There are a lot of things, Emily, that you can look at, with this case. A case of shooting is attended by juniors. So we can literally say, there's one, even Mteto was a junior.
Even Mteto was a junior.
With other juniors.
Sure.
So the interesting question to throw is that would you have seen if the scene was being set up? Was it possible at your junior state to see if the scene would have been tampered with?
Then Ramasipili asked, did dispatch tell you who the case involved? How many suspects were there and their description? If the suspects were still in the house or if they had fled? And Mteto said none of that information was given. So what was the condition outside when you arrived at the scene? And Mteto said there were people there, but he could only remember the lady who was pointing in the direction that some people had fled. Ramasipili asked if Mteto had seen a Honda Ballad when he arrived at the scene. And Mteto said he didn't take note. He didn't see a car. Now this is with regards to what Ntabiseng Mokete had testified. Ntabiseng! Honda was not seen by the police.
Yeah.
Ramasipili then asked regarding the hat and crutch and the 2 cans of alcohol.
Well, to leap in a bit of defense, the Honda issue did move according to Ntabi's testimony. It went to hospital. So that's where then the police would have came.
Okay, so you are going to assume that by the time they came, Ntabiseng had left, because she did say that she followed.
Yeah, because
the car,
they didn't see the
BMW.
yes. They didn't see Senzo, according to what we are told. If what they are saying, more so the ones that are testifying here, they only saw Senzo at hospital, right? That could have been where then the Honda was.
But for me, it becomes confusing with people ran to the park. The community ran to the park.
Yes.
And that incident of running to the park happened before they left for the hospital, in according to Ngache's testimony. So what that means is when the police arrived and there's a lady pointing them to the park, where are the people? Didn't this lady see that people came back from the park? Did they even come back from the park at all? What is happening? What is this mess?
No, that woman would need to explain as to why she still felt the need for unless then you would say then the police probably have an expertise of being able to locate or even recognize criminals. That's why I pointed them to that direction.
If she pointed them in that direction and the people had already dispersed, it's a problem.
Why?
If the community was already not there at the time and she's seeing the police are approaching the place of the incident and she's pointing them in that direction as if these people just left now. She just saw these people.
But you are assuming that's what you was thinking. She never said I was thinking like that. She could come and say, I pointed them there to where the criminals went so that they can go and maybe they would be able to notice things that we failed to notice as a community. And there's nothing wrong with that.
On their way to the incident, where the incident took place.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like okay, in 5 minutes or so, let's say 12 minutes, you guys come in, and I'm standing there. And there were people that were running with guns there. Yes, I would still say they went that way. Those people, if I saw them, the question would have been, did you see those people or you heard? Then you pointed these people based on the allegations that were people that went that side.
Well, Ramosipile asked, after entering the house, did you get a feel that the incident happened inside the house? And Mtetwa said, no, to me, it was an indication. There was no indication. So before you went to the hospital, did you take any steps to secure the evidence in the kitchen and the dining room? And Mtetwa said he means the crutches.
That's a side eye.
They're not talking about the crutches.
They were just talking about evidence in general.
The scene, the kitchen and the dining room. After you saw what you saw, did you take any steps to secure it? And then he later on answered no. How long were you in the hospital before returning to the scene at Gutwanong Street? And Mtetwa said, even though I don't remember the time, but we did not stay at the hospital after seeing what happened. We rushed off. So Ramasipile asked, from the hospital, who did you travel back to the house with? And Mtetwa said, only Makhumalo. So Ramasipile asked, Ntabiseng Mokete says that she traveled back to the house with the police and Makhumalo. Ntabiseng, oh, my team.
Yeah, I think she's found wandering.
Mteta then said, I don't know her. We only traveled back to the house with Makhumalo.
In fact, she even went further to say, Kulumamanga.
Sure. Ramasipile then said, did you wear forensic gear, gloves, and so on when you entered the house? And Mtetwa said, no. Everything that Makhumalo was saying at the vehicle that you were traveling with back to the scene with her with, did you write it in your pocketbook? And Mtetwa said, yes, we would write what we considered to be important. And they asked, did you go to the park before or after you entered the house? And Mtetwa said before they entered the house. This is why it's a problem for me with this lady pointing the police to the park. It's a problem for me, in my opinion.
Look, everything went wrong that day, man.
I'm like, you just happened to be waiting at the perfect time for the police showing up. But then as soon as they showed up, you're like, those people ran to the park. That's strange.
It's very interesting if that person is really there. Because as we would need to know, why were you positioned there? I mean, you could have went with them to hospital. There's a lot of things that you could have done as a neighbor. Why did you decide to wait for the police? Is
police-
there
it's
any
almost like you
instruction
were
that came?
given a job to wait for a van, allegedly. So what exactly did you do at the park? And Teto said they just drove and lightened with their light, then turned back. So what another thing that would be interesting that they should ask more of is, did they find people, the community at the park? You understand?
I think, Emily, what you are confusing here is time and the movement of people. I think from what the Ngashe boy testified, or the Ngashe brother testified, you can almost tell that the action happens up to a point that they eventually come back to assist to Senzo, and they find Senzo lying there. That would therefore mean that these people would have vacated the area. And the answer that you would have gotten there, based on what you are looking at in terms of this case, which seems to be aligning there and there, you probably would have found the answer that perhaps there were people, just small boys chilling somewhere, or there were no people.
The way he's making it sound is like there were no people. So
Exactly.
I just want to be sure.
Exactly, because your line of questioning, I think I can catch it. What you're trying to establish is that, was there a point where the community and the police were actually searching together or something like that, which...
I want the estimations of the time, kahle kahle.
Let us look at time, how it goes.
So Ramusipili then said, were you wearing protective gear to protect cross-contamination of the scene? And Teta said, no. Uniformed police are only there to make a scene statement. So they were not wearing any protective gear. And Teta said, no. So, which year did you look for this pocketbook? That's Ramusepile asking.
Yes.
And Tetwa said last year. It was when he was here in court in 2022. The last time he made an appearance in the court, and there was a request for that pocketbook. That's only when he went and looked for it. And he only got the ones from 2016. And after 2016 to date, 2022, about 5 years have lapsed. Why was the ones from 2016 also not destroyed?
That's a good pickup. That's a very good pickup.
And Teta said he doesn't know. He'll ask at logistics.
This is where you see De Novo working.
Ramusepile concluded his cross-examination. Advocate Charles Mnisi said he had no questions for the witness. Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah, a very good leave.
We have no problem with that.
Yes.
So Advocate Zitulele Nxumalo started his cross-examination, and he started off by asking, is it correct that as a police officer who arrives at the scene, your duty is to gather as much information as possible? And Tetwa said, yes, that's true. What investigation did you conduct when you arrived at the scene? And Tetwa said, to get someone with information, to get what had happened. So, Mthetwa, the only thing that they're looking for is someone who will tell them what happened. They're just going to ignore everybody else or everything else that is alarming.
In fact, he goes as further as to debunk the reason he was brought there, to say that these people would sometimes lie, and which I do not think that it's not true. There are situations like that. We know
where by the time, because they take so long to arrive, people have changed their mind.
Their mind, yes. There's forgiveness. Maybe if there was a commotion or whatsoever, then I fully understand that situation. But does that give you a reason not to trust the situation of this nature? No. Your job is to keep on doing the same thing.
Yes.
If you work in a call center, you call people, sometimes they don't answer, sometimes they answer. And that is your job. That's what you get paid for.
Yes.
You call them, you keep on calling them, right?
Yes. You just call because that's your job. Okay. So for him to just ignore all these other things and just look for someone who can tell them what, that sounds like South Africa. That's exactly what happens. You just ignore everything else and you just look for a person to explain to you what happened. Okay? So they asked who was that person, and Mthethwa said Makumalo. The information that you received from Makumalo, did you reduce it down to your statement? And Mthethwa said, let me explain to you on that one. We as uniform police, when we arrive at the scene, we do a scene statement. Then the other witnesses that are there, the detectives, they arrive and they are the ones who take the statements of the witnesses of everyone who was there. Matebula did a scene statement and he says that he witnessed Matebula's scene statement. Captain Zwani was there to take a statement from Makumalo and the other witnesses that were there. So Nxumalo asked, you further didn't take a statement from the lady who told you that there were people who had run to the park, and Mthethwa said no. And Nxumalo asked, not even from Themba Khumalo. Then Mthethwa said no. So if there's no statement from the lady who pointed towards the park, we can forget about this lady. I don't know if this lady is not gonna come to court.
Oh, God forget.
I forget. I don't see this lady coming to court. Then Mthethwa said that when he first arrived there, nothing indicated to him that an incident had taken place.
But then what worries me is actually what is being commented here. To say that when you are dispatched to go and someone called, you are given details most of the time. In our days now, obviously you can call as anonymous.
Yes. But the details, the address, where you're supposed where the incident took place. And some people, they are in shock, they're hysterical. They will obviously provide more information. And I remember calling the police at some point, and they were asking me questions. What is happening? What is happening at the incident? And I had to explain, this is what is happening. You know, I'm frantic, but at the same time, they were probing so that they know exactly where to go and what to expect when they send the police.
That's a question that I think they could actually Mshololo, because it still has a chance with to ask if what was the details
of the phone call.
Of that dispatch. When you went there, what was who? Because this woman now is made to seem like is the one who called.
Yes. And there could have been more people that called on that day. I know when a big incident happens, you'll find that there's multiple people calling at the same time about the same incident.
Yes.
So if those phone calls, there was a way, why don't we have that in South Africa? Oh my God. So Nxumalo then said, you did not proceed to the dining room on your first visit. And Mthethwa said, we did. So the first visit, you didn't notice the blood spots. Mthethwa. You only noticed them after you came back. So he said you testified to this court that you saw dots of blood next to the couch. And he said yes. Was that not an indication to you that an incident had occurred inside the house? And Mthethwa said, but I did say we saw that when we returned for the second time. And Mthethwa, you didn't find that alarming? That the first time you went to the dining room, you went to the kitchen, you didn't notice. The second time you go, you notice.
Yes.
It doesn't bother you at all.
And understandably so. From what we have been told, you didn't see anything outside, which would make sense. But when you went inside, with whatever intention that you had to go inside the house, which I don't know, because you're saying that you still wanted clarity as to what to cordon.
You wanted somebody to ask.
You still went in, and from the very same kitchen, you jump the blood spot and maybe a ballistic.
Yes, a bullet projectile.
Yes, a bullet projectile. I don't know these things.
So Nxumalo then said, when did you see the bullet projectile in the house? And Mthethwa said, when we came back for the second time. So it looks like it was just a walk in and out. And Mthethwa said, indeed, because the first time we didn't have anyone explaining to us what had happened. And you didn't notice the blood spots. Mteto then said, can you describe, no, this is Ngubalo, said, can you describe this bullet projectile? And Mteto said that it was flat, like it was used. The front part of the bullet, yes, it was destroyed. And then Ngumalo asked, did it form a jacket? The judge asked, what's a jacket? And Ngumalo said, it's a damaged bullet. It forms a jacket. So the judge said that he doesn't understand it as such. Do you understand what the jacket of a bullet is, sir? Asking Mtetwa.
I don't understand. Does being a lawyer then mean that you know all these things?
No, you learn.
I mean, these are people that are working with these things. Every day, this man probably has a firearm that he looks at and take. Every day, this person goes to collect. To even ask such questions.
Judge, we are trying to figure lo judge law. Then Mtetwa said, I would have preferred for him to wait for Mtetwa to respond to the question to tell if there was really confusion about the question or not. But what bothers me is that he didn't even wait for Mtetwa's response. Yabo? So it bothered me, that part. Mtetwa then said, even though I don't know what it is, I thought he meant a cartridge, because a cartridge is where the bullet enters. A jacket, I don't know. Then the judge said, just clarify your question to Advocate Ngumalo. Ngumalo then said it was a damaged bullet. Mtetwa said, yes, the front part of the bullet was damaged, and when you shoot, the end part gets out and drops to the ground. The front part goes out where there's, so then he was asked, were there any empty cartridges that he found inside the house? And Mtetwa said no. So Ngumalo asked, was there any search that you conducted inside the house? And you and Matebula, and Mtetwa said, we didn't look. Us looking is not the same as those who have the equipment to look. It's just observing with your eyes what you can find. And you missed those blood spots and the bullet projectile.
With your naked eyes.
So you were using your naked eyes, and Mtetwa said yes. You also said there was damage at the door. Did you make any observation as to what caused the damage to the door? And Mtetwa said, we were talking to Makumalo, and she said her suspicions are that it hit the upper part and fell to the floor. Makumalo, did you move the door around to see the damage at the back of the door? And Mtetwa said, yes, that is the door we were using when we entered. I mean, when you wanted to observe the damage, this is now Ngumalo emphasizing the question. When you wanted to observe the damage on the door, and Mtetwa said, opening and closing it, yes. So when you left for the hospital, Constable Musia had not yet arrived, and Mtetwa said yes. When you were doing the search, did you look around the cupboard area? And Mtetwa said, we looked at our own way. I'm interested in that way. What way is that? This is Ngumalo asking. I'm interested in that way. What way is that? And Mtetwa said, I don't know whether it's me who does not understand. When I'm looking at you, I'm looking my own way. So
Okay.
Mtetwa was officially the first witness to make Ngumalo laugh.
He's been laughing, actually, the judge.
He's been.
All the time the judge objects, he laughs. Can you please like the video, guys? 642 people, please like the video and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, we're just going to keep on reminding you, because that, I think, doesn't cost anything.
So Mtetwa continued to say that we are not the same in observing things. How you look at something is not the same way that the next person looks at something. Then I got reminded of Lorraine's testimony. So how did you conduct a search in your own way? This is Ngumalo now asking. And Mtetwa said that there are not particular things that they used to look, but once the scene is cordoned, so that the photographer can see what they have found. The photographers also have their own lights that they use to look for certain things, but they don't have such So the judge laughed and asked, have you heard about Africans who say they want to Africanize colonial knowledge? If you haven't it's fine. If you haven't heard about it, it's fine. Now I'm like, what is happening here? Nxumalo then said there's nothing wrong about that. And then he later on said, no, I haven't heard about that. I'm like, what is this judge talking about? In my opinion, as I'm observing, I'm watching, and I'm like, the judge said this gentleman is explaining that, you see, he says that they don't have forensic equipment. They use the naked eye, like in Africa. Am I right, sir? And Mthetho said, yes, sir. Then the judge said, that's why he says ngendlela yethu, in our own way, for our non-Zulu speakers.
Yes.
Then maybe you should ask if he has received training as a forensic detective in gathering evidence.
Then you shouldn't have asked that question.
And in my opinion, I'm having a question as I'm watching, but I'm like, but what would the point of that be? Because this man does not work in forensic department. No, he's not working in the forensic. If that was the case, he would have mentioned it in his examination with the state, right? So what is the point of him asking if he works for forensic? Because that's not what he said he works at. He said he works crime prevention.
Yes.
So, and then another question I have, I'm like, what Africans are those that he's talking about that want to colonialize African knowledge? What is he talking about? Because from my understanding, what I'm hearing the arguments being from this African knowledge versus colonial knowledge is because the ones that know, they say they want to go back to the knowledge that we had as Africans. Let's find ourselves as Africans, defining ourselves away from colonialism. So what is he talking about? I was very confused. Then Nxumalo said, were you trained in the forensic field? He fell for the trap. He asked, were you trained in the forensic field to gather evidence? And Mthetho said no. In my opinion, this was clearly a trap, and the police constable's lack of knowledge could be the mission, to bear in mind and to clear up for the state. In my opinion, I felt like Nxumalo is being forced or being dragged into clearing up some of the things that obviously were done wrong by the state in this case. And he just... The search you say you conducted in your own way, would you say that that was a diligent search? Now, all these questions after, they were kind of like now starting to diminish his cross-examination because you went in the direction where you compared him to a forensic. Yes. Wow. Then Mthetho said, let them explain. Like, that was a psychological game. That was sideways. That was, it ruined Malo's cross-examination, honestly speaking. Then Mthetho said, let them explain again. We, as this brother had said, we safeguard the situation. Now, when he says this brother, he means the judge. When the likes of Musia arrived, because they have been trained for this, they're the ones who actually are supposed to find everything. But even if we manage to find something, we can no longer be negligent about it just because we are not trained for it. That's why we're able to call them all the way from Springs so that they can come and see what they find and take it, and we safeguard it. Then we write everything we found and who arrived on the scene. And Nxumalo said, was there a bullet head that was found in your presence or in your second visit? And Mthetho said, no. Apart from the one on the floor, no. So Nxumalo asked, Lieutenant Mhlahlo? And Mthetho said, I saw him here. I don't know him. So Nxumalo then asked, on the morning of the 27th of October 2014, did you return to the scene? And Mthetho said no. Do you know whether there was a bullet head that was found on the scene besides the damaged bullet head that you saw on your second visit? And the judge said, before you respond, are you aware that you're asking a hearsay question? And if he responds to it, because it is elicited by you, it becomes direct evidence. Are you aware of that? And Nxumalo said, yes, I'm comfortable. The judge then said, okay, fine. And Mthethwa said, I know nothing. I have no knowledge. So Nxumalo then asked, is it correct that you made a statement? And Mthethwa said, yes. And he wrote it himself on the 26th of October 2014 at about 10 o'clock at night. He made it at the crime scene but finished it off at the police station. Although he doesn't know which paragraph, but the last part, he completed it at the police station. Mthethwa said that he had to stop because he was waiting for the photographer to arrive at the scene. And when he arrived, he wrote it down. Then the rest afterwards, he completed at the police station. It was commissioned by Sergeant Matebula, and Mthethwa says that he also signed it. So Mthethwa agreed that it is not in his statement that they got into the house after Themba Khumalo had opened for them. He says it's because he might have considered it not important. Nxumalo then said, you also say that you noticed blood. You also deemed that not important to put in your statement. And Mthethwa said, I think what I didn't write there, my colleague Sergeant Matebula wrote it. It's also not in his statement that in the kitchen there was a crutch. Was it also not important? And Mthethwa said he left the crutch because the mama said it was for some young man who was at the hospital. So if you say your statement says you completed it at around 10 o'clock and Sergeant Musia collected the hat and the crutch, if he arrived at around 11, that is later. And Mthethwa said on Musia's arrival, everything we gathered on the scene was going to be taken by him. As long as he saw everything at the scene, everything was going to be taken by him. Nxumalo then said Mthethwa did not answer his question. The judge asked if it is material. So he said, like you say in your statement, you never wrote that you opened the house. But in the statement, he says before he left for the hospital and Sergeant Matebula told Themba to lock the house. Nxumalo then said, in a sense, that some of the things were found later. So he's asking in a sense that some of the things were found later. So the judge said, but how does it change his evidence? Did the judge even hear Nxumalo's question?
I'm tired of that question.
The judge said you must read the case of State versus Mafadiso 2013.
You know, the judge strikes me as one of those apologists. Yeah, he strikes me as that. Like, obviously, this is my opinion. But those people who like to use those cases and the choice of cases, actually, yes, there's wealth and there's too much experience. But the cases that are used most, you can almost define a person through those cases, what kind of a person this is.
It says courts must be wary of allowing counsel state snippets of statements. You got to read the whole statement to get the essence.
And that's a change of thing, because even
statement.
Baloyi himself, he was moving in that direction at some point. When the judge feels like it, maybe there's a whatever, I don't know, and then he brings such, which is correct way of doing things.
Nxumalo then said, but some of the things were found later. The judge said, yes, but he just told you that he's not a forensic expert. And I'm like, that's it right there. That's the reason why he led him into that.
Use that. Told you he was not trained for forensic. Use the same thing that he gave you.
He told you that he's not a forensic practitioner.
Now, does that make...
He's just there to secure the scene.
The very same case applied to one case, actually. You can use it in many ways. And in fact, the very same case, it talks about the judge's position, that the judge is not someone who thinks is superior to everyone,
Yes.
in a nutshell.
But he's acting. in my opinion.
But it is only read there at that snippet, the very same snippet that it doesn't want to be read when it comes to the statements, because it confuses the people, according to him, the people who are testifying. But the very same case, Mnisi was able to ventilate that it actually says, when it comes to the judge is not just a superior empire there, sitting there and thinking that is better than everyone.
Well, that's how Advocate Nxumalo's cross-examination was
crushed. Yes, fully crushed. Does that mean that the person who was crushing it is smart? No. It's like me giving you something and then use it against you. You tell me your story. That's why, remember, Emil, why I said, I don't talk about my stories at work of what happened in my life.
Yeah, in your personal
because
life.
Then someone comes back and use that thing the very same way.
We had to learn the hard way. Colleagues.
Yes, and situation, the very similar situation. Someone is claiming to be assisting you in your line of questioning.
Hey.
And then you use that because you rate these people highly due to their experience. Not that maybe they are more learned than you. Maybe that could be the case. Maybe that couldn't be the case. But all I'm just saying is that was there a need to just, not even after a day, the very same couple of minutes,
Yes.
you drag that thing back that you gave to him to use so that it can suit your court.
And you crashed his cross-examination.
It's like you're setting traps.
Where is he supposed to go from
It's like
there?
you're setting traps. Setting traps. You know where they are.
And you know
and
what
it's
the
one
sad
way of
part-
making the case go faster.
And you know what the sad part is, you guys, is the fact that I don't think he even heard Nxumalo's question. Because Nxumalo is asking about the time difference. If Musia arrived at 11 o'clock, and you're saying you were finished with your statement at 10 o'clock, what is happening there? We needed an explanation there. And it just got crushed because Mtetwa is not a forensic expert. You see what's happening? Are we the only ones who are seeing what's happening?
Yeah, I see it.
Well, Advocate Mshololo started with a cross-examination, and Mshololo said, any training you had at the time, we understand you were a junior constable at the time. And Mtetwa said, yes. Mshololo said, tell us. Mtetwa said, even though I don't remember, I did some training. I will write them down for you and come back with them tomorrow. Mtetwa said he received training on how to attend a crime scene and secure at the police training college.
What if those training comes back and say forensic training somewhere, guy?
Kuyomele kuqalwe kabusha. Kuyomele evumele uNxumalo eqhubeke nama-questions akhe.
It will be too late.
No, it is too late.
Yes, the
because he
judge,
closed his
because
I don't know how the court works.
He has a tendency of almost looking like he's crashing everything that was the work that was done by the defense every time the case ends.
Yes.
And I know that people are going to think, oh, today he asked the correct question. I was thinking about this question. I was like, no, this is actually even more messed up than the previous one.
It's worse. What he did to Nxumalo today.
Not only to Nxumalo, the whole thing. Continue. I'll show you.
Mshololo says, did you do your duty as a police officer to ensure the items you had observed in the house were not interfered with? And Mtetwa said, yes, I did. Mshololo asked, did you safeguard the item? Mtetwa said, yes. Mshololo said, you testified you left Mr. Khumalo there, who was not a police. Is that correct? And it was quiet. Mshololo said, if you have no answer, you can say you don't have an answer. Mtetwa said, I don't have an answer. Mshololo asked, I'm telling you, you left the scene and you went to the hospital. And Mtetwa said, okay. Mshololo said, you also failed to protect the scene to ensure it is not interfered with. Mtetwa said, you are telling me. Mshololo said, you left the crime scene Mteto said, no. Mshololo said, who did you leave behind? And Mteto said, I didn't leave anyone. Mshololo asked, was it left unattended? Was there a police officer who was left behind? And Mteto said, no. Now, this was a dance. I enjoyed this dance. Mshololo asked, you had a legal duty to prevent the tampering of the crime scene. And Mteto said, okay. Mteto says that they saw nothing other than the items that were on the floor when they visited the crime scene. Mshololo said, you didn't see the projectile that was found in the cabinet top in the kitchen. And Mteto said, I didn't see it. Mteto says that they saw nothing other than the items that were on the floor when they visited the crime scene. And Mshololo asked, you didn't see this projectile that was found on top of the kitchen cabinet? And then he said he didn't see it. Mteto says that, okay, the guard, he says he didn't guard the scene the first time because they didn't regard it as a scene without more information. Mshololo asked, the complaint was straightforward, that there was a shooting. And Mteto said, we normally get complaints that sound like they are real, but they are not. Mshololo said, but I'm referring to this complaint. And Mteto said, isn't that when you get there, you need to find someone who is going to tell you more about what you'd received from the radio control? And Mshololo asked, what report did you get from the radio control room? And Mteto said, shooting in progress. Is that it? Is that the only thing that they gave him? Shooting in progress. Then Mshololo said, so Mteto said, we usually get such calls. You get a complaint and it turns out not to be true. If you don't find anything or anyone to confirm the complaint, you will end up guarding what is not even a scene. But isn't it best to go to the address that you were given? I mean, I don't understand. The address you were given, the center of where the call said the incident is happening. Mshololo then said, so you got the complaint that there was a shooting. And Mteto said, yes. Mshololo said, but you left the scene unattended. And Mteto said, I will say yes. You know, this was a very different Mteto from the one that we saw in 2022. He was more calmer. I was expecting him to be so defensive. But no, he was just calmer. Then Mteto said, I will say yes. Mshololo read a statement by Sylvia Ngubeni in which she says Maggie Phiri said Senzo hadn't died and asked why we should call the police. Hey, when are this part, guys? This part blew my mind. I don't know if I can take it verbatim. So, from the part of the statement, she raised the concern that the police must be summoned. This is Sylvia. She's saying that she raised the concern that the police must be summoned. And Maggie Phiri responded that Senzo didn't die. Why should we call the police? Kaya Ngache is the one who called the police. And Kaya Ngache did testify that he's the one who called the police. And he testified that he did call the police after Senzo's cell phone and Tingo, who is Kelly Kumalo's baby with Senzo at the time. And then she followed the people who had gone to the hospital. She says in a statement that once they were in the house after the shooting, he then saw water on the floor. She says, I was amazed to see water on the floor when there was a shooting in the house. Now, Sylvia says, I made a comment that was there water on the floor? Why was there water on the floor? And Maggie Phiri said it was not water, it was liquor.
So Maggie Phiri had the answers.
Maggie Phiri began a pendulo for everything that was happening there. That I found very strange.
From sleeping in that bed or wherever she was, or hanging the clothes or whatever. And
then another interesting part, but while Makumalo was crying in the street I heard her saying, the person of this hat, she knows him. He usually passes by the house.
Wow. Which then would translate to that guy who apparently was arrested for nothing.
The car wash.
The car wash guy, Zamukuhlembata, right? So, now, I need to ask this question because there's always those people who would say, why don't we look around other people? There are people of interest also, Mandisa and everyone else. Was Mandisa all there when these people really talked about these things that probably they're going to come and debunk and say, I didn't say that, I know the person, yet you pointed the person.
At the identity parade.
And that person claims that, actually, these people are familiar to me.
She needs to come to testify at court because this doesn't make sense. You were screaming on the street saying that you know the person with the hat, right? And he says that Sylvia said that she didn't even see that hat that she was referring to. She was not carrying a hat in her hands. So she continued to say herself, Maggie Piri, Julia, Maria, Gugu went into the house. When she was in the house, she saw water on the floor in the passage near the toilet door. She says she was amazed to see water on the floor where she was told that somebody was shot in the house. She said she made a comment as to why there was water on the floor where there was a shooting, and Maggie Piri responded and said, it is not water, it is liquor. The people in the house were drinking alcohol. I saw empties of the alcohol they were drinking on the floor in the passage. She didn't take note of the type of liquor. So this is Sylvia saying that she didn't take note of the type of liquor. Do you understand? So Maggie Piri started to pick up the empties from the floor. I asked her why she was tidying up before the police could arrive at the scene. And Maggie responded by saying that she doesn't want the police to see that the people inside the house were drinking. Myself, Gugu, and Julia left her inside the house. And then after a while, she also left for the hospital. So she says she also can't remember who opened the house for the police. But the house eventually was opened and Makumalo came back from the hospital. Mshololo continued with a statement by Sylvia Ngubeni into how they got out before the police arrived to cordon off the crime scene. And Mteto said, I agree, but there were no people inside. Mshololo, but the gist of my question is that by the time you cordoned off the place, the scene had already been tampered with. Do you see that? And Tetra said, yes. Maggie Piri. Mshololo then said, is it correct that at the time you didn't know who were the suspects? And Tetra said, yes. Mshololo asked, and your duty was to safeguard the crime scene from anyone? And Mteto said, yes. Mshololo asked, and that the duty of the police to ensure that the crime scene was not accessed by any people? Mteto said, yes. Mshololo asked, including Mr. Kumalo, it was within your powers after seeing the exhibit to take the keys. And Mteto said, when we entered the house with him, nothing suggested something had happened in that house. Mshololo then said, but there was a shooting complaint, and that's why you left the station. And Mshololo said, even though if that is so, you still need to have the belief that something had happened. And Mteto said, I put it to you that you were reckless. Okay, this is Mshololo. I put it to you that you were reckless, and the state objected, saying that the point could be left for argument.
Do not draw them anyway. I know it's not, sometimes it's not procedural to actually do that, but do it, because either way, you might not be able to actually do that with 120 people, 109 or something people.
Okay.
Keep on reminding us every day.
Mshololo read from a statement by Gugu Ngubeni, who among other things says that she was handed Senzo Meyiwa's phone after the shooting. Mshololo read from the statement, and I quote, "I later realized that the phone belonged to Senzo Meyiwa because a lot of people kept calling looking for Senzo. I then handed the phone to my mother to answer it." Advocate Mshololo concluded her cross-examination with a request for the witness to bring a list of courses that he attended. And then Advocate Baloyi re-examined the witness. Well, I didn't record that re-examination and all of it. Advocate Charles Mnisi
He was basically emphasizing, in a sense, in one of those points that he felt,
So I skipped that part. So Advocate Charles Mnisi on the podium for 1 or 2 points. Mnisi has quoted Mthethwa from one of his statements saying, "We found the bullet on the sink table." Mnisi asked, "Did I get you well in your evidence in chief that you said the bullet projectile was found on the floor?"
Why so sinking?
Mthethwa said, "Yes, it was on the floor, not on the sink." But in the same sentence, you continue to mention other items that were found on the floor. And Mthethwa said, "Yes." Mnisi said, "You specifically say the bullet was on the sink table and that other things were found on the floor." And Mthethwa said, "Yes." Mnisi said, "I'm putting it to you that you have not been honest. There were other items that were found and they were not disclosed." And the judge said, "When you arrived with Matebula, you were on the street and there was a lady who gave you directions." Mthethwa said, "Yes." The judge said, "Can you describe the physical features?" And Mthethwa said, "Though I cannot remember, she wasn't tall." And the judge asked, did she approach you?" Then Mthethwa said, "As we arrived, she waved and we stopped and opened the window." And she said she ran towards the park. They ran towards the park. So she's the one who waved at the police.
Who waved?
The lady.
Oh, yeah.
The judge was probing about the lady. So the lady waved at them as they arrived and stopped.
No, but not in that wave. Like that wave, I'm sure is that one. Hey, stop. It's not the one that you are showing now. That one of bye-bye.
Maybe it was like this.
Yeah.
Advocate Mshololo said that she will finalize her cross-examination of Mthethwa tomorrow after bringing a list of courses that he's completed, and only thereafter will the new witnesses take to the stand. Okay, Mr. Anonymous, that's a wrap from me.
And then it just talks about the pictures of the park not being shown in these exhibits. And not being there. As if you didn't know that they were not there or they were there. I think you knew that they were there. But that's one way of actually bringing them. Because it's evidence. That's where the intruders went to. That is a giveaway. That to me is saying, you are already convinced they were intruders that went to that park. Why are we still dealing with this case?
Why don't you just make your ruling?
Yeah, make your ruling so that we see what people need to do if they need to go further.
Just make your ruling and let's get this over and done with.
So, and then Baloyi, at the right time, stands up and say, "My lord, in fact, they are here. If the court would like to have them or see them."
Are those exhibits gonna show us the people that were running into the park?
Obviously, I know they're going to show a park.
So what's the point? An empty park. What are we gonna do? What are we supposed to do with an empty park?
He's the one who's always asking, "What's the point?" Maybe we should ask him, "What's the point, my lord?"
They'll be like, "Do those exhibits have pictures of the people that were running to the park and the community that was following them after?"
And the man claims that he's not testifying for these people, actually been helping them there and there, the states. I mean, honestly speaking, what was the point of bringing that?
So bored.
Yeah, he brought that. So in a sense, he's been against that. These people are... he's been saying that, put it to them that your people were not there. But now, when you talk about the park not being shown, so that's an exhibit that Baloyi did not put to that court. And then now he's going to bring it. Believe in me, Baloyi does everything that man say.
It's like a clue that bring the exhibit of an.
Do not be surprised tomorrow on the line of questioning when he says, is this the park? Is this, can you point what you are seeing here?
Wasting more time.
Can you point, perhaps, can we have exhibit, my lord, if it can be accepted by this court?
No.
As an exhibit, GC, can you point what you see there?
No, we don't need to see the pictures of an empty park. It's fine. We heard about the park.
This is the park. He's going to start by saying that.
Is this the park? Let's look at exhibit.
No, is
this the park?
He's going to start like that. He's going to say,
okay.
Can you bring the exhibits? Is this the park? What do you see there? And then obviously the man is going to say, this is the park because you have said it's the park. And
does it have green grass? Does it have swing?
Trees? Can you explain other things that you perhaps might see
on the park?
in this picture, my lord? And then he would look at the judge. Whereas he does that, he always, when he does something that the judge wants or sounded like he wanted or giving a clue to, he looks at the judge as he's doing it, and the judge will be writing. That's what you should be seeing tomorrow. With a new guy who's an SAPS member.
Yes. I'm shaking my head.
So now you can call. Please like the video though before you call.
The lines are now open, guys. Share your opinions, what you picked up. 1 minute max. 1 minute max. Because we're trying to get as many of you guys to go through and tell us what you think about today's proceedings. Just today.
The judge is surprised that there is no park. What the hell?
As an exhibit. Is that park going to show us who shot Senzo?
They might as well shoot the gate, the streets where they ran, all those things. They might as well just shoot that thing. Where's that thing going to help us?
Where is it going to help us? That's a good question.
They might as well shoot the site where they thought they were. If it's a left one on the road, if it's even, they might as well shoot everything.
Might as well take pictures. Go there right now at Mzamo section and take pictures of everything.
Sorry guys, I just missed someone who was calling. Can you call again? You might as well shoot everything.
Please call us again. They might as well just go and shoot everything fresh and present it as exhibits. Because what is happening?
Let's just shoot everything. There's nothing to.
Is that park honestly going to show
Mzansi,
us
hello.
anything new?
Mzansi, hello.
Okay, let me go straight.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you guys.
Yes.
It's going to be a mistrial.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as you can see, the defense now, the state doesn't have anything to provide or a substantiated evidence against this guy. Mm-hmm. So they're just buying time, just calling useless witnesses to come and testify about cases that are not even, pertaining the false arrest case.
Yes.
Remember that one for the gun?
Mm-hmm.
That guy, what happened to that gun? Did they open the case? Remember they were arresting him for the case in Alexander.
Yes.
Now they found an unlicensed firearm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What did they do? Did they open a separate case because he's having an unlicensed firearm, or what did they do?
They opened a separate case. Cleveland. They're calling the Cleveland case.
The Cleveland case.
Yes.
So meaning that gun is got nothing to do with the false arrest.
So far.
So far, yes. But now, what the state is doing now, is there any substantiated evidence now to link this bad guy? If you're telling about the threat, then we can't say that there was a guy with a threat. Yes, he is in court. Then you can point at him and say this guy was there.
Mm.
You can't say anything about the threat. He was putting it was covering the threat.
Mm.
It was just if they were saying the guy was having a scar is permanent.
Yes.
Now the scars are no longer there. You didn't call the guys, all these people to come and identify this guy identity parade. They didn't do that. So what I'm saying here is that it's a mistrial, guys. I'm telling you, it's just at the end of the day, we're gonna forget that there was a case against Senzo. Life goes on. I'm telling you. And now, check if they go with that one for the cell phone, that means Kelly must come now as a what? Not as a witness, as a suspect.
Oh, suspect.
If they go that way, that means Kelly must come as a suspect. So at the end of the day, they won't get. Yesterday there was a caller who said what? This thing is being cooked. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. And that person is talking because of people. He knows somebody who was there. That's right. So we're not going anywhere.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah, sure. Let me give this guy a chance. The next one.
Sure. All right.
Thank you. Mzansi, hello. A minute. Mzansi, hello.
How are you, Anonymous and Emily?
Hi.
We're doing well.
According to my understanding, the picture of the park is on the second docket, 375, not on this one. The judge is just stamping the gun.
Where you get this information?
But where do you get the information? Is it on 375? Where do you get this information?
Another thing, Emily, the way the judge is disrespecting the defense,
Yes.
they will end up getting irritated like that going forward.
Yeah, you can't blame them.
I can see it happening.
No, let me give others the chance. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw someone who commented that, Advocate Mshololo and Advocate Mnisi are not taking it anymore.
Yeah, those ones, they find a way of navigating around the schooling, the lecture.
Busy in a lecture, you must go in academia and teach. This is a courtroom. People's lives are on the line. This is not a classroom.
As we indulge on your vocal, that is making me sleep, my lord. Right. Let's have the next caller, guys. Like the video, share the video, do everything that you need to do with it. Mzansi, hello. Mzansi, hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. How are you? Let's go on, Mfowethu. Yeah, Mfowethu.
Ayishangazi le gama li-right ngisebenzise nala kule show yethu ukuthi kodwa namhlanje angaze nginyanye kanje. Yanginyanyisa le bathi yabona jaji lithi nginyanyisa lo kwamampela yakuthi namhlanje. Yabo la unqumalo le sitshela le phoyisa leli ukuthi istatement uqede ukuzibhala ngo-10. And statement lesi sikhuluma ngokuthi umsiya uthathe izinto ezinjikho namakhasi. And then umsiya kodwa ufike ngo-11 crime scene.
Madoda.
Then uNcumalo ubuza le report ukuthi indoda wena into zakho uzibhale ngo-10 waqeda washo ukuthi kwi-statement umsiya ufike ngo-11. But umsiya uzikhwelethile nobhale ngo-10. Manje le judge seliyaqala ke manje selibisa uNcumalo manje and limbisa nange-question engasiyiyo le bekayibuza.
Yebo.
Ngamvala total.
Eish.
So le judge namhlanje okay uNcumalo futhi wabuya wafunda i-statement sakhe uphoyisa ukuthi endlini nakafika kokuqala ku-statement uyasho ukuthi akasifulanga lutho.
Yeah.
Nakabuya esibhedlela uthola ama-blood spot ngazi nane nama-crutches.
Yes.
But manje e-court uthi yena akatholanga nakafika kokuqala sekathole nakafika kokuqala uthi uthola i-crutches nani and uze wavuma lapho naye wavuma
Uvumile.
ukuthi ayivele lezi zakhe zihlangana. So namhlanje nginyanya kakhulu so rini ukusebenzisa igama leli so yini ngathi mhlawumbe ngiyanimoshela but
No.
ngiyabonga bafethu nginyanyile ngiyashaka.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah. So
Abana Nami, that part, honestly, my heart just like dropped when I went.
and you know what he uses all the time? You see the case that you mustn't use someone's mistake. How do you know these are mistakes? How do you know that these are mistakes? You say this thing of taking these books as your demigod. It's a serious problem because now you cannot think outside the box. Even as a lawyer, I mean, you are expected to actually apply general knowledge.
And I was actually impressed to see Malo. Some of the questions you could see that he's picking them from his flow. He was more relaxed today, and I'm like, he's coming along so well. And then the judge made him off ramp, like out of nowhere.
So now, just because you studied a case somewhere which was also a trial, and someone learned from that. Now it's your Bible truth of what should happen.
And some of these judgments need to be revisited, honestly speaking, need to be relooked.
Because some of them, they were oppressing certain people.
Yes, those were different times. Okay, I can see the one in 2013, Mafumadi or whatever. But what if the people there that lost had no money to appeal? You're just going to take it at Gospel Bible.
I don't understand why people say this judge is an old school judge. The same judge who's saying that these people should have taken the park, is that old school? No, honestly speaking, I do understand people do bring arguments as an old school. I'm trying to understand his old schoolness. Where is it? Baloy drags questioning.
Yes.
Ask silly questions.
Yes, stupid questions, honestly.
That, in my opinion,
that we don't
need.
And
when those questions, when you are cross-examining on those questions, it's bad. This judge is an old school judge. What does he do? What does he want you to do? To actually, ask Bragod to give you a video of what happened that day?
Which is not going to happen.
And then come and play it in front of him and say, this is what happened.
It doesn't. They have to work and probe. That's the point of a court. Beyond reasonable doubt, you have to suffice as much information as you can to defend your case.
I'm saying the judge is asking the question. First of all, Alex, I would like you to get to the question that the judge asked at the end. The judge is worried about what is it? He was worried about the fact that the park was not taken, and there's this other question.
It's an exhibit.
Why would the guy that is at a stand now, which is Mtetwa, take that? Because the same judge is saying that this guy, one, is not a forensic person. Two, this guy does not take pictures. The same judge accepts that. So why don't you wait for Msiya to ask that question? You know, sometimes we give credit where it's not due. No, there's nothing clever about that question, because, I mean, one can flip it around and say, but my lord, you're saying this person is not supposed to be taking pictures, supposed to protect evidence, and that's what he did, according to what we are accepting in this court, me and you. Why now are you talking about the pictures? And talking about the pictures, which tomorrow maybe Msiya might be the one coming, and and now you bring that evidence at the right time. Do you understand? And then Msiya, or even the brother who was working with this man, Mtetwa, comes in now, and then Balo is going to project that. Where is cleverness in that? Where does it explain that this is an old school person? This is someone who's old school. Tell me, like maybe I'm lost. I'm trying to figure out because all I'm seeing here is teasing information that is there with the judge, by the way, because it's got all those papers. If it's not there, it will be put in there, and then it will help the cause of the judge on whatever theory that he has been given. So now we're gonna be seeing Park now. Exhibit Park.
Is it going to show us
obvious. Once we talked about it. This man's taking notes. Man, Balo is taking notes for days. What do you think? He goes in the morning, at night, he revises them, and he comes back and say, "Perhaps, my lord, I should start by on record put this exhibit, my lord."
Expect something
hello.
when Sylvia testifies.
Good evening, guys.
I say, how are you?
I'm good. Last time I failed to get through, but I would like to thank you guys for the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys, what you're doing here is like we're actually having the trial here more than what is on the court. I can actually tell you that I think sometimes, as much as lawyers and advocates do what they do, some common sense needs to prevail.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a judge that thinks that he knows everything, but I can actually tell you that if you go back to what this judge maybe has judged before, even he retired, you might find that he sentenced a lot of innocent people. From the way that he works with the state, what the state says is gospel truth to him. It doesn't evaluate anything. As long as Baloy says this, it stands. I wish the advocates that are there, they're doing a great job, especially under the circumstances. I wish that advocate Ngumalo would actually gain some confidence to say, even if the judge interrupts him, he mustn't lose his competence or to just shy away from whatever point he wanted to raise. Because if you look at Advocate Mshololo and Mnisi, they have actually mastered that this judge, if you don't do that, if you don't work against what he's saying, you end up losing your direction.
Yes.
You end up losing what you wanted to say. Because especially the judges, now it's like we've got two state advocates now.
Yes.
We've got Baloy here and the judge here. Because whatever the judge interrupts, it's very vital. It's very vital. When you see that someone is because you remember, at first we were thinking that this judge is going in the right direction, is what we needed.
Yes.
In some way, he took an about 10. I think he was threatened by whatever that he had done before. Because you can see that what he's doing is not normal. We can't say that this man is not intelligent. He is intelligent, but intelligence, when it's working against what is right, is very dangerous. Yeah. So I wish the advocates would actually have time, or someone that listens, especially to this show, and then they take notes, because I can assure you there's no other place where they can take notes, because for them it's about rules, it's about what case, how the other judgment was done before, and I don't think they've got enough time to go through all the evidence. I don't think they gave themselves enough time, because sometimes you can see, even when they have to cross-examine someone, they have to say, okay, can I have a bit of time to actually go through? I don't think they give themselves. I wish they could employ someone that thinks not from a law point of view, but from a layman's point of view. Someone that sees things as they are, because from the point of law, they always remain short. They pick up after maybe a witness has been there for a while. That's when they start gain momentum.
Yes.
Let me give other people a chance, guys. But thank you so much. This is a wonderful show. I can't sleep even before I finish. Sometimes I sleep with my headphones on if I'm very tired. But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
This is very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's so encouraging, guys. It's so encouraging. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. I can't
No,
stop.
like
I can't lose interest.
Look,
in
I
this
respect
case.
people who. There's one case that I watch, and
Yes.
I didn't finish it. I still need to go back to it.
Okay.
That one of where he was actually the big. It was on the media also, that case.
Richard Mdluli.
Richard Mdluli. That case, if you look in that case, I'm just going to highlight what is important about that case. That case, one can argue that it is more political
Yes,
than it was just a normal case.
In my
Do you
opinion,
understand?
it was, yeah.
You look at this man of Mdluli, and you look at, one might say that maybe there was a bit of factionalism that was working there, and the case then started right there. So from watching that case, I think that's when I started now analyzing everything. Mzansi, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, you're speaking to King Somapulani.
Yes.
Also, AKA Alex. Yes.
Yes.
To be frank, the judges, I support the judge in a way. Because you can't tell me that 4 defensive lawyers can be defeated by Valoyi. Valoyi, you can see that he's dragging it now. Valoyi, that other witness he brought for the case of Alex was unnecessary. They could have challenged. And they said it's irrelevant, and they stood as Muti he's playing tactics. They should have told the judge that this man is playing tactics. Why is he bringing this person who's irrelevant to this Lontonga? They are too quiet. They respect him so much. That's why Missy yesterday made an own call. They respect Balo as a dirty player. I said it before, remember when I spoke to you. Balo plays dirty. The judge is an old school. He's trying to work on Mshololo, who are more into this practicality of lawyers. You don't need to be practical, you need to play rough. For example, they should have just put to the sergeant, that sergeant, I put it to you that you changed this because you decided to lie because of certain reason, 1, 2, 3, 4. The judge always tells them, put it to him. Don't argue. If I tell you that this is what I saw, it's what I saw. So don't argue with me as a lawyer. Be very clever. Put it to me. That's what the judge has always been telling them. I thank you. I give others a chance.
Yes. But the same judge goes on and defend when you do that.
It,
When you put it to him, and the same judge is the same judge who said put it to him that there were no intruders in that house. He came back, he whipped them with that thing.
That they are not. Was it used immaterial
contradiction?
and
What immaterial and what?
Is it subjective or objective?
There's nothing you can do. You see this case.
You know, and I'm just like,
I said this case is also, it has a bit of element that element of politics also, and perhaps between this case and the Mdluli case, there is that common element of politics. Mzansi, hello. Mzansi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Good.
I think the judge can see that Baloyi is failing big time. So he is trying to protect the state and Mr. Baloyi at the same time.
I might have a point there. You might have a
Thank
point there.
you. I like your show, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for calling as well. But yeah, at some point it crossed my mind because what I'm seeing is the indiscrepancies, the mess of the state. He comes in trying to save them.
Guys, I don't understand. Did you get a chance of checking Oscar Pistorius' case? Did you see how that lawyer of Oscar Pistorius was moving?
No.
He was moving that guy. In fact,
Pereru.
even the tone of the voice was important.
Yeah, I remember.
So you cannot fault
It was
people
a
for
shock.
that. You cannot fault just because it's our people, then we fault. These ones are wrong. No. No, I refuse. No, initially I thought they were slacking, but now I feel that really there's a bit of preparation with short time, considering that these people are coming like rain. These people who are coming to testify here. You know, last time we were not happy about Mshololo taking long to read something before Dinovo.
Yes.
But looking at these people, we have like
109. That's the highest number we've been given so far. Witness number 109.
Here they're coming. They tell you this is witness number 100.
We still have to watch. We still have to watch all of them come and testify.
But no, I mean, I believe that these people are working. Like I will tell you, when I feel that they didn't do much homework, I do call them out. But I cannot keep on calling them out for nothing. They
are.
How do you win in a state where it seems to be made for you to fail? How do you win in that state? If whether you go left, you fail. You go right, you fail.
And I heard the other caller who just called in saying that they need to be more like. But then Defo and TT.
Defo was like that. Look at where he is. Was it Defo like that?
He was.
All of you were saying, this one is crazy. This one doesn't make sense.
They called him all
This one
kinds
doesn't
of
know
names.
law. This one doesn't know law. The modern lawyers.
Yes.
Yeah?
They bashed
Defo
him.
is old school.
They bashed him.
This one doesn't know law.
They
this
bashed him. Okay, they literally dragged his name through the mud. Okay, because he was doing what a lawyer needs to do.
Look at where he is though, with that stepping up.
So maybe they are also moving carefully. Have we considered that perhaps they saw what happened to Advocate Defo? They're moving carefully.
So now you want these people to do. Defo went there. He wanted a trial within trial right away.
Mm-hmm.
Finish this thing, summarize this thing, finish.
Musia's testimony alone was messed up. And Defo was like, trial within a trial.
And it didn't happen, what?
It didn't happen.
What happened is that he was reported.
Mm-hmm.
And when you read that letter where he was reported, that he sent on, that was, I don't know whether he says the one who sent it, but it's on social media.
It's on Twitter.
It does include who? It does include the judge. According to me, what I saw is a judge and then a bit of Baloi, right? So, what do you say? Play dirty, get dirty.
It's not as easy to be aggressive in that court. It's really not. That's why we're so patient with the defense counsel, and we're not going to say, they should, because like how when Advocate Defo
you are expected to behave there in a certain way. How you are expected to behave. Some of these things they need these people to be actually robust, but how far can you go with that robustness? And you become robust, and then they rob you, your career or whatever that you.
Do you think this
left.
case will be better handled by a judge of no color?
And honest truth, yes. Those people, they deal well with these cases. More so if it doesn't include, if you know what I'm saying.
And I don't think.
Let's make an example. In a case where. They remember the case of our former president.
Yes.
When the judge felt that there's a bit of being compromised, and that the judge was the judge of no car, he recused himself.
Oh yes.
Seeing the pressure, and he was like, no, I'm not going to be able to probably do my job properly here because there's this pressure. Now I need to He said, no, I'm out. Can you see a judge of our color doing that?
They're disappointing us.
No, they won't. They would actually rather be removed from that case in a certain way and whatnot. You can never see that with them. No, and I'm not shooting them down just because I would like to see proper competent people.
High-profile cases,
you wish they sit there. Someone who's honest. Look at how the judge, for example, was dealing with Magutumana's appeal.
Oh, yes.
It was clear. And then he left that space. Okay, if you want to appeal, go up.
Go and appeal. But this is the decision that this court will come to. And he's stuck by his decision. There was no feeling of, oh, he's taking sides.
No, it didn't feel like that.
There was no feeling of, oh, you're going to help the state argue their case. The state was arguing their case on their own.
Yes.
The judge was just sitting there listening to their argument.
Quiet. Now and then when it needs a theory, clarification of theory, clarify me
that's
here.
When he jumps
you know, and that's what I've been seeing with a lot of judges. But this one, it's totally different. This one is teaching, is giving answers, and from answers
speaking on behalf of witnesses before they even answer
you
questions.
Stop someone from answering that question. You like say no. And by the way, I don't think that Nisi blundered by that question that he asked, where this guy ended up bringing up the issue. What people don't understand is that if we feel there's an element of maybe knowing certain things, you know, if you analyze the what we call the question there was no need to bring the Alexander issue. Not after you've been warned several times not to bring it. But the man decided to bring it. It was not a mistake.
It wasn't. It was brought up by the witness. It wasn't brought up by Nis, guys. Don't
Mzansi,
get
hello.
confused.
Mzansi, hello. Right. You're struggling to connect, so I would leave you. So some of the things are not like we must watch and see. There are things that we highlighted. The way these people are saying we drank only 3 cans doesn't to you sound like these people? Wow. Hi, how are you, sir?
Siyaphila sengiyiphinda ngoba ngibona abantu abafoni la sengiyiphinda ngazi noma right.
Ungaphinda mfethu uthathe iminute.
Yazi angibuka le case le i-defense le ngizwela ubuhlungu ngoba manje nase ngilalela uTefu ngibuke lento uTefu bekazisho ukuthi abantu abazilecala leli aba-involved la abo president sama-post
no siyakuvala. No
asikwazi ukuya lapho abana lapho there's a no-go area.
No.
We cannot go there.
We did say this, guys.
We don't have proof.
We don't have proof. As we said, there are people who can say that at their own
risk. We can't.
We cannot
go
there.
We withdraw that statement. Okay.
Now we're gonna have to. No, we cannot go there, guys.
No, we withdraw it. If you're gonna call and bring in these
someone's name
names,
that is not clearly part of this case, exactly. No.
We can't work like that, guys. I'm sorry, but we can't.
No, in fact, this is where I end things. Let me answer. Let me take one caller. And
now I'm afraid.
Mzansi,
I'm afraid now. Please don't mention high-profile names or anybody's name. Please.
Mzansi, hello?
Yebo, sonibona.
Njani mfowethu?
Ngiyaphila bakwethu. Cha wenganza kwethu, ngizosekela jika ukuthi namhlanje ngiyathokoza bakwethu ukuthi nisilethela leli case lena every day so sizokwazi ukuyilandela nathi. Wenganza kwethu, yazi into engiyibukayo la, ngibuka ukuthi labantu ababoshiwe eventually bazogcina begwetshela into engekho. Ngibuka ukuthi bazogcina begwetshela into engekho, and the way izinto ezihamba ngakhona, because I mean even most of us we agree ukuthi ijudge, as much as he's a very smart guy. I mean we cannot deny that, but then that he keep on coming whenever each and every lokuzana attorney or advocate is saying we are going to okay, the shit is about to go down right there, and then he will just come right there, and they're like, and change, into a different direction. So that it's gonna cover or to cover the state. It's like it's like they are working together, but we don't know that. But then umbuzing now, uthi kulabantu abawu-5 ababoshiwe. Akekho yini if I'm not mistaken, akekho yini ovela ugwetshiwe for udilika jail. Is it accused number 4 number 5?
Udilika jail angazi, but ukhona ogwetshiwe impela iminyakanyana eminingi.
Akusiyena lo omelwe umshololo.
Wimpela.
Uyabona ke ngileyo ndoda, because you know what, already if you're already serving iminyaka engaka vele and vele now you are being dragged into ongayazi and you are being linked isifoni yakho into ongayazi. You know what, in order to really qinisa mina nguyena, I was gonna change everything. I did. Kelly Kumalo called me, as you guys will say. Kelly Kumalo, Kelly Kumalo, as you guys said, Kumalo did contacted me, and then this is what happened. So that they will bring Kelly Kumalo as also how did she? Because I'm already serving 30, 40 years anyway. I'm over 30 years. 40 years. There's no way in terms of you know what? But in order just to play with their mind, right? Because right now, the evidence is leaning he's got some knowledge and he has some communication of somehow with Kelly Kumalo, right?
Yes.
Sometimes, sometimes abantu bavuma amacala bengawenzanga in some cases because of the situation umuntu asuke kuyona. So now if I was that guy, I was gonna say, you know what, let's just ivume le nto ngithi nangu umuntu who ordered this hit so that uzobona iqiniso. Uma sekunjena, I think Kelly Kumalo will end up eventually telling the truth what happened. Because amehlo azobe sekuyena. Uyabona?
True though.
I just wanted to say that.
Sebo, I think that should
allegedly.
Be the last call.
Yeah, that's I think that's an end.
Yeah.
Everything said here, it's alleged.
Everything is allegedly.
Public opinion,
even
assumptions, everything.
The court of
and
public opinion.
Actually some of these things are said by the callers.
Yes.
And actually that would be a smart move. But are you willing to go that rabbit hole? You know, in South Africa, you can still 6 years, 46 years can be 1 year. It's South Africa, man. But
it depends on what you have. It depends. It depends.
No, look. I do not denounce what was said by people. That's what people should understand. We are not denouncing anything or agreeing to anything. All I'm saying is that, but not at this young platform where you want to come and air such information again. Yes, it is in a public. It is in a public eye right now. It was said. But look at the situations, guys. Read the room. You know, read the room. We are very small. We are not attacking anyone here. We don't want to dirty anyone's name. We just are doing what we are doing where we can talk. And
now
sometimes when we switch you off, it's because we know you are going left.
And we don't have money for lawyers.
Okay. That's what people should understand. That's why we have to.
Are responsible for the broadcasting. So we can't say, oh, they're just going to want to sue the person who said it. We're not sure of that. What if they decide to come for us? Yeah, so let us just respect the platform, guys. We've been doing that for years. Yes,
like we've been doing that. It's our third year now. We've been doing that. People
Let's respect people. Let us not drag people's names through them.
No, this is not a platform of exposing. There are many platforms. If you want to do that, go to TikTok. There are people who are not.
So many exposés on TikTok of people. So just go on a platform that will allow you to do that. Because here, We can't do that.
No,
honestly,
we cannot.
We can't. That would be.
Hence, we
asking-
cannot also talk about certain companies. Hey, companies so and
Yes,
so
we can't
did this.
even mention the names of
You
the
don't know how
companies.
strict these streets of YouTube are.
They are very strict.
Why do you think what do we call TikTok is flooded by people? Because it's easy there. There's a bit of freedom there. In case
not
you didn't
so
know.
much, eh? Yeah, there are YouTube guidelines, okay?
And those are rules in a sense. Those are rules.
So you can't just throw in people's names. Like, the names are very, very respected, okay, guys? So please understand. If you don't understand...
Last caller, Mzansi, hello?
Hello, Jenny.
Yes. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. This is Pumele Shabanana. I'm actually watching the show right now. I don't know if it's still live.
Yeah, we're still live.
Yes.
Oh, yes. By the way, I'm an athlete by profession.
Okay.
And I actually know Mshololo very well. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we've done some several cases together, and she's a very brilliant athlete. Yeah. But the reason I'm calling,
yes,
and it's just that I'm not following the case on a daily basis.
Yes.
I was just wowed by how you guys have analyzed the evidence that you've been caught. I'm very impressed.
Oh, that's
I was actually thinking, man, I don't know if it has actually come up in court, but there are 5 accused before court. Correct?
Yes.
And at some point, in fact, I did discuss this with you guys when the next started, when it started Ayin, of course, when she, I think the first person she was representing the first witness.
Yes.
But I just wasn't aware that they failed. But now there are 5 accused before court. And I'm thinking here, on the 26th of October 2015,
yes,
or rather the following day, immediately after the incident occurred, I still remember exactly where I was when I heard the news of Senzo's passing.
Yes.
I remember exactly where I was.
Yes.
And I would have thought by now, perhaps one of the accused before court, through their counsel of court, would come up with a defense to the effect that no, I was not in Flopsora on the day of that incident.
Yes.
One or two of them, because like I'm telling you now, Senzo Meyiwa was a huge figure in the country.
Yes.
And I believe that when we all heard of his passing, some of us, or if not all of us, remember the moment when we heard. And therefore, it's easy to remember where we were at that time.
Yes.
So
yes.
I was just thinking along those lines. As part of the 5, surely there ought to have been 1 or 2 or 3 who would say, no, I wasn't in the vicinity at that time.
Yes.
Cause to remember is saying that he's a huge figure.
Yes.
So I remember exactly where I was.
Yes.
And I had the news. Quite frankly, perhaps I had an alibi.
Yes.
I was just thinking along those lines that I think 1 or 2 or 3 of them at some point by now thought to have told us, I wasn't even in Johannesburg. And this is where I was with my family, and witness will come and testify on behalf of the accused that no, he was not in Joburg at the time. That time he was in the rural areas of Nongoma. So, you know,
yes.
just to strengthen the defensive core. I'm just thinking along those lines. I was waiting to hear something along those lines, and every time that does not happen, and no one is coming up and say, I was not even near the time, previous time. So my defense is, I was not even there. You know, that hasn't, I haven't heard anything along those lines. I just wanted to share as a senior to everything that is going on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
You are raising a valid point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Sizwe is catching. Oti, we are mentioning Zand. Zand is part of the case.
Yes.
Kelly is part of the case. In fact, the things that are coming out of that case, the things that people are testifying about, we are not sucking those things. Remember,
No.
we are hearing them
From her mouth.
There is a record of, and some of it comes from.
Yes.
There, in that case, you can go as far as suing us. We don't care. But sucking.
Sucking and just taking names from random like that. And remember, guys, he's still the head of state. He's
Yes.
still our president.
I don't even want to explain any further, though. Just off the record. Guys, thank you very much. And indeed, the person who was calling is an attorney.
Thank you so much for that call. But what that point he raised up is very important. Why is it not being mentioned that, the accused were here and there? That the last time I heard it was when Advocate Defo was still.
Look, there was a time where they requested the documents, right?
From the bank for
From the
Bongan
bank,
and
and they never. I don't think they are theirs yet.
and they were requested by TT to run.
Oh, so de novo.
They had to request them again.
Yes.
In front of the judge.
Guys, thank you very much. It's a bye from me.